I'm very excited to do this video, although I guess it is sort of a more sadder topic. Today I'm going to be talking about how to feel less lonely. I literally grew up feeling lonely and isolated and an outcast for like literally my entire life. That came into play especially when I was at my extracurriculars. I was hanging out with my friends. I just felt different, like I couldn't connect to people. And also because I am what they call like high performing anxiety, I'm not someone who you can notice they're feeling lonely. Like I'm very good at pretending, at putting on a face, at fitting in, because that was my way of surviving with these feelings. But over the course of 4 years, I wrote about 300,000 words in a journal like every day, and almost every single day I'd be like, I feel so lonely, I feel like so excluded, I feel so left out. And it's only been in like the last year and a half, 2 years, that I found a definite change and I found a form of happiness. So I want to talk about that today and talk about some things that have helped me. And I want to preface this, or maybe disclaimer, and say these are things that I did over years, like literally years, step by step. So I would definitely say if you want to feel less lonely tomorrow, that might not happen, but it definitely can happen, and that is the important thing. The first thing that really was important for me was to learn how to start feeling my feelings. Whenever I felt lonely, I would start to try to think it away or think of solutions to the feelings of being lonely. So what I would do is say, well, today they weren't talking to me because I wasn't being outgoing enough. So what I need to do is I need to become more charismatic, speak on all these things, tell all these stories, and that will make people connect with me. But instead, I would maybe find a little bit of progress, or I would become better at faking the connection and the friendships, but I would still feel so lonely on the inside. And the number one thing I would have told myself when I was feeling this way is that it's okay to just feel the feelings of being lonely. So a practical way that I would have done this, and I could have done this, is whenever I'm seeing people and I'm like, they're there and I'm here, just sitting in that feeling and being like, what does my body feel like right now? How do my toes feel? How do my knees feel? Like, what is coming up within my body? This sounds like something where you're wondering, how is this going to help me be less lonely? For me, it helped me acknowledge my feelings instead of trying to run them down the path and to explain them away. And then as my heart and my body and my inner mind started to calm down, then I could start to relax and just kind of be more expansive. So after learning how to just feel myself in these situations and the feelings of being lonely, another like more mental mindset related thing is just trying not to go down the rabbit hole of you're always going to feel this way, which is extremely hard to do. So best way that I found to help myself stop going down the you're always going to be lonely, you're always going to be sad, because that is the saddest part for me about being lonely, was that I felt like there was nothing I could do to change it, was telling myself, you know what? I feel lonely right now, and I forgive myself for feeling lonely. I forgive myself for being the kind of person who is lonely. I'm sorry that I am in this situation, and I love myself. And saying those things, or some form of those things, I didn't necessarily say it like that at that time, but some form of that allowed me to bring in some peace and some acceptance into the situation. And accepting it doesn't mean that it's always going to be this way, but to accept that it is this way for right now helps lessen the pain, because you can be suffering or you can be sad, but true pain is when you are beating yourself up for this and you're telling yourself that you need to do better and you need to do more. So those are two things that I would say first off right off the bat. Feel your feelings and try to forgive yourself and find some form of acceptance for yourself. Another thing that I would do that would also really help me, which I talked about in the beginning of this video, was I journaled a lot. The second I started writing and putting my feelings down on paper, they started to dissipate and become less strong, and you begin to find a distance between yourself and the thoughts of being lonely. Although being lonely is a real thing, but they seem to have less weight once they were removed from my mind and laid out on a piece of paper. So the next thing that I started to do and started to learn was focusing on what does connection look like for me. So I would ask myself in these situations, what do you want? You're looking at these people and they aren't including you. What do you want? And the answer would be something obvious, like I want to be included, I want to be loved, I want to be accepted, I want to be a part of what's going on. Very valid things. So what I started to tell myself was, okay, and what does connection look like for you? And at first that was something that was hard for me to answer because I hadn't thought about what connection looked like for me. But then I started to think about it and find little things here and there. Oh, I had this laugh with this person that was genuine. That's what connection looks like for me. Oh, I was able to talk to this person about my problems. That's what connection looks like for me. And I began to collect and hold all these pieces together. I worked with a somatic coach at the time, which is something I really recommend, is somatic experiencing if you've been through trauma, but it's very expensive to work with them sometimes. So you can also find readings online and things online that can help, but that can help you practice some grounding. But one thing that we would talk about was holding on to these feelings of connection and practicing the feelings of connection in your body. So that moment where you felt really connected with someone, what did it feel like? What was going around you? What were the smells? What were the feelings? And I think the thing that was so important about doing this exercise is that every feeling that you have is embedded in your brain and in your habits and in your nervous system. It becomes something that you're used to and almost a comfort. So I kind of had to start practicing what true connection did feel like, because I was so used to what loneliness felt like that it was just so easy to go down the path of being lonely. So I started to hold on to these small moments and make them bigger. The last thing that I did that was amazing for me was starting to think about, so these feelings of connection, how can I give those to myself? What are things that I do that give myself that feeling of connection? So for me, something that I love to do is dancing. Anytime I dance and I just do like a dance session by myself, I feel freer, I feel more myself, I feel like life has humor in it, and 100% those are the sorts of things you want to chase and incorporate more into your life. So practicing those feelings of connection and then installing them with someone else. And what I found was, after maybe doing these little small things here and there, I began to try to share them with other people. Because I had been doing these things where I was focusing on being grounded in my body, I was starting to come from a place of my true self instead of like what I thought I needed. And so when people did connect with me, it feels more genuine because it feels like I'm speaking from my true self and not the self that I'm doing in order to be connected with people. Because that was the biggest thing for me. I would always try to say the right thing in order to be connected with others, and then wonder why I wasn't being in connection. I wonder why I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling lonely because anything that these people are seeing does not come from me. It comes from a me that's trying to control them. And when I stopped trying to have other people fix my loneliness, you need to be in community to feel loved and supported, but people can tell if you need them to fix your own loneliness. And sometimes you do need people, but if people are in a one-on-one conversation with you and you are holding on to them in that conversation because you need them to talk to you to prove that you're not lonely, people aren't getting to know the real you. Instead, they're only knowing your desperation, which is not you. And so when I began to kind of let that go and feel those feelings, more and more aspects of my true self began to emerge. And this was a process over time. But I am here to say it does get better, and there are ways of finding connection. I would definitely say therapy helped, journaling helped. Being in a community of people who are like-minded and searching for those people can really, really help. But I know that sometimes, for me at least, when I was so used to being excluded by everybody, sometimes even those communities would make me feel lonelier. And so it was just a process of recognizing, when is it them that's excluding me and when am I just used to feeling lonely? So I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I hope that this can be a safe space. I hope that the comment section can be a safe space. It should be a safe space for people to share their stories and to talk, and I will be interacting in the comment section as well. I appreciate you guys for coming on this journey with me, and if you would like to see more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao!